Imagine this, your life, exactly as it is today, 5 years from now. Same routine, same mindset, same habits. Does that excite you or does it make you uncomfortable? The truth is, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our habits. The small, seemingly insignificant choices you make every day are shaping your future. But here's the challenge. Most people wait for motivation before they change. They think, once I feel ready, I'll start. But that's not how change works. So let me ask you, are you truly ready to change your daily habits? Not just in theory, not just because it sounds good, but in a way that disrupts your old patterns and builds a future you're proud of. Because if you are, then today is not just another day, it's the beginning of something different. Let's dive in. Every day, we wake up with big dreams, visions of the person we want to become, the success we want to achieve, and the life we hope to build. But here's the problem. We often believe that transformation comes from massive action, dramatic shifts, or a single defining moment. The reality is much simpler and far less glamorous. Change happens in the small, consistent actions we take daily. Think about it. Your habits are like seeds. At first, they seem insignificant, barely making a difference, but over time, they grow, multiply, and shape the direction of your life. Waking up 30 minutes earlier may not seem groundbreaking today, but do it every day for a year, and you gain over 180 hours of extra time. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't feel like much, but in a year, you've consumed dozens of books. The smallest habits, when repeated consistently, compound into massive results. On the flip side, the same principle applies to negative habits. Skipping one workout doesn't make you unhealthy, but skipping workouts for months leads to weakness. Spending an extra 10 minutes scrolling through social media seems harmless until it turns into hours of wasted time. Success and failure don't happen overnight. They are the result of small decisions repeated over time. Most people underestimate the power of small actions because they don't see immediate results. They quit too soon, assuming their effort isn't making an impact. The truth is, every action is a vote for the person you are becoming. Change isn't about making radical shifts in one day. It's about committing to small, intentional improvements every day. The future you desire is built in the habits you practice today. Motivation is a myth. Most people believe they need to feel inspired before they take action. They wait for the perfect moment, the right mood, or some external push before they start. But the reality is, action comes first, motivation follows. You don't wake up one day suddenly excited to exercise. You start exercising, and then the energy and momentum build. You don't feel like writing a book or learning a new skill until you start, and only then does the motivation kick in. This is where most people get stuck. They believe they need to feel ready before they begin, but the truth is, readiness is a lie we tell ourselves to justify inaction. Every successful person you admire started before they were ready. They took the first step, even when it was uncomfortable, and that's the key. Action breeds motivation, not the other way around. The more you do something, the more natural it becomes. Think about how habits form. The first time you go to the gym, it feels like a chore. You have to force yourself to show up. But after a few weeks, it becomes part of your routine. You start to crave the feeling of progress, and suddenly, it's no longer a struggle, it's a habit. The same goes for waking up early, eating healthier, reading daily, or working on your goals. The hardest part is starting, but once you do, your brain adapts. You begin to see results, and that fuels your desire to keep going. So if you're waiting for motivation to strike before you take action, you'll be waiting forever. The solution is simple. Start now, no matter how small. Do something, anything that moves you forward. Once you begin, motivation will find you. Your habits are not just actions, they are a reflection of your identity. Every choice you make reinforces the kind of person you believe yourself to be. If you want to change your life, you have to start by changing how you see yourself. Think about someone who runs every morning. They don't just wake up and think, I have to run today. They see themselves as a runner, so running becomes automatic. The same applies to any habit. When you identify as someone who reads, you don't force yourself to read. It becomes part of who you are. When you believe you are a disciplined person, waking up early isn't a struggle, it's what you do. This is why most people fail at habit change. They focus on the action but never shift their identity. They say, I want to quit smoking instead of saying, I'm not a smoker. They say, I need to be more productive instead of, I am a productive person. The way you frame your identity matters. Your brain works to align your actions with the person you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with discipline, your habits will reflect that. But if you start telling yourself, I am someone who follows through, your actions will begin to match. The good news is identity is not fixed. It is built through repeated behavior. Every time you show up at the gym, you cast a vote for the identity of being fit. Every time you choose to read instead of scroll, you reinforce the identity of being a learner. Change doesn't happen from the outside in. It starts with who you decide to be. The moment you shift your identity, your habits will follow. Most people believe that success comes from occasional bursts of intense effort. They think if they work out for 3 hours in one day or read an entire book in a weekend, they'll see results. But the truth is, consistency beats intensity every time. Real, lasting change isn't about how hard you push for a short period. It's about what you do repeatedly over time. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't brush for 3 hours straight once a month. You do it for 2 minutes every day. The same principle applies to any habit. Going to the gym once in a while won't change your body, but exercising regularly, even if it's just 30 minutes a day, will. Saving money once won't build wealth, but saving a small amount consistently over time will. The results don't come from one big effort. They come from daily discipline. The challenge is that consistency isn't exciting. It doesn't give instant results. And that's why most people quit too soon. They start a new habit, don't see immediate changes, and assume it's not working. But what they fail to realize is that every action, no matter how small, is stacking up. The person who works out for 30 minutes a day may not see a difference in a week, but after a year, their body transforms. The person who reads 10 pages a day won't feel smarter overnight. But after a year, they've read 12 books. Success is not about intensity. It's about showing up again and again, even when you don't feel like it. The real progress happens when you commit to the process, not just the outcome. The people who win aren't the ones who work the hardest for a short time. They're the ones who stay consistent no matter what. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to build good habits is friction. The little obstacles that make a habit feel difficult or inconvenient. The more effort a habit requires, the less likely you are to stick with it. But the opposite is also true. If you reduce the friction for good habits and increase it for bad ones, change becomes effortless. Think about something as simple as drinking more water. If your water bottle is buried in a cabinet, you'll probably forget. But if it's always on your desk, you'll drink without even thinking about it. The same applies to working out. If your gym clothes are packed and ready the night before, you're far more likely to exercise. You're not relying on motivation. You're making the habit easy to follow. Now consider bad habits. If your phone is next to your bed, it's easy to scroll for hours. But if you leave it in another room, suddenly checking it feels like too much work. If junk food is within reach, you'll eat it mindlessly. But if you have to drive to the store, you're less likely to indulge. This is how you control your habits, not through willpower, but by designing your environment. Success is not just about discipline. It's about making the right choices, the easiest choices. If something is good for you, remove every barrier that makes it hard. If something is holding you back, create obstacles that slow you down. You don't have to fight your habits. You just have to set yourself up to win. When you master friction, change becomes automatic. Your environment is shaping your habits more than you realize. Most people think willpower is the key to success, but the truth is, Your surroundings have a far greater influence on your behavior than sheer discipline. If you want to change your habits, you must first change your environment. Look around. Everything in your space is either making good habits easier or bad habits harder to break. If you want to read more, but your books are hidden in a drawer while your phone is always within reach, guess what you'll reach for? If you want to eat healthier, but your kitchen is filled with junk food, you're setting yourself up for failure before you even start. Your brain naturally chooses the path of least resistance. The easier something is to access, the more likely you are to do it. Think about people who are consistently productive. It's not that they have superhuman discipline. They've structured their environment to support their goals. Their workspace is distraction-free, their schedules are designed for focus, and their routines make success inevitable. On the other hand, those who struggle often find themselves in environments filled with distractions and temptations, making change feel impossible. The good news is, you don't need more willpower, you need better systems. If you want to build a habit, make it the default option in your environment. If you want to break a habit, make it harder to access. Instead of fighting against your surroundings, design them to work for you. When your environment is set up for success, your habits will follow naturally. Success isn't found in grand gestures or one-time efforts, it's hidden in your daily routine. The small, seemingly insignificant things you do every day are the foundation of your future. Yet, most people overlook this truth because they're searching for a breakthrough, a moment of sudden transformation. But real change doesn't happen overnight. It happens in the quiet, consistent actions that build momentum over time. Think about the most successful people in any field. They don't just work hard when they feel inspired. They follow a routine that guarantees progress. Athletes don't train only when they're motivated. They train every day, rain or shine. Writers don't wait for the perfect idea to strike. They sit down and write daily. The key isn't in waiting for the right moment. It's in creating habits that make success inevitable. Your routine is either working for you or against you. If you start your day scrolling through social media, hitting snooze and procrastinating, you're setting yourself up for a cycle of distraction and inaction. But if you wake up with intention, prioritize what matters, and stick to small, productive habits, you create a system that leads to long-term success. Most people underestimate the power of routine because the results aren't immediate. But just like water shapes rock over time, your daily habits shape your future. You don't need a life-changing event to transform your life. You just need to master your routine. Because in the end, it's not what you do once in a while that matters. It's what you do every single day. Most people focus on perfection when trying to build better habits. But the real key to success is tracking progress, not aiming for perfection. The problem with perfectionism is that it leads to an all-or-nothing mindset. If you miss a workout, eat an unhealthy meal, or skip a productive habit for a day, you feel like you've failed. But progress isn't about never slipping up. It's about getting back on track as quickly as possible. Imagine you're trying to save money. If you have one day where you overspend, does that mean you should give up entirely? Of course not. The same applies to any habit. If you miss a day at the gym, it doesn't erase all your previous workouts. If you skip a day of reading, it doesn't mean you should stop learning altogether. Success isn't about being perfect every single day. It's about being consistent over time. Tracking progress helps you stay motivated and aware of your efforts. When you see proof that you're improving, even in small ways, you're more likely to stick with it. Whether it's marking days on a calendar, keeping a journal, or using an app, having visible evidence of your progress reinforces the habit. It reminds you that even if today wasn't perfect, you're still moving forward. The biggest mistake people make is quitting when they mess up, but missing one day doesn't ruin your progress. Giving up does. Instead of chasing perfection, focus on showing up consistently. As long as you're tracking forward movement, no matter how small, you're winning. Because in the long run, progress beats perfection every time. The reason most people struggle to change their habits isn't because they lack motivation, it's because they lack patience. We live in a world of instant gratification where we expect results immediately. If we don't see quick progress, we assume the effort isn't working. But real transformation is a slow process. The habits you build today may not show results tomorrow, next week, or even next month, but over time, they will change everything. Think about a tree growing. You don't see much happening in the early stages, but beneath the surface, roots are spreading, strengthening the foundation. The same is true for your habits. The first few weeks of exercising might not show visible results, but your body is changing. The early days of saving money might not feel significant, but your financial future is shifting. The progress is happening, it's just not always obvious right away. This is where most people give up. They expect immediate rewards, and when they don't see them, they quit. But the people who succeed are the ones who trust the process. They understand that success is not about sudden leaps, but small, consistent steps. The key is to stick with it long enough for the results to show. Patience is the secret ingredient in habit change. The question isn't, is this working? It's, am I willing to keep going even when I don't see results yet? The ones who stay committed despite slow progress are the ones who eventually experience massive change. Because the truth is, everything compounds. Success, discipline, effort. The challenge is whether you're willing to wait for the results to catch up to your actions. The quality of your habits is directly tied to the quality of your mindset. Most people try to change their habits without changing how they think, but your thoughts shape your actions. If you believe change is hard, you will struggle. If you believe you're not disciplined, you will act in ways that reinforce that belief. But if you shift your mindset, your habits will follow. Think about how you talk to yourself. If you constantly say, I'm bad at waking up early, or I'm not a consistent person, your brain will work to prove you right. Your identity is shaped by the stories you tell yourself. But when you start saying, I am becoming disciplined, or I follow through on what I start, you begin to act in alignment with that belief. Change begins in the mind before it shows up in action. This is why people who succeed at habit change don't just focus on behavior, they focus on identity. They don't just try to eat healthy, they see themselves as someone who values health. They don't just try to be productive, they adopt the mindset of a disciplined person. When you shift how you see yourself, good habits become natural rather than forced. Your thoughts are either working for you. If you want to change your daily habits, start by changing the way you think about yourself. Because in the end, your mindset isn't just influencing your habits, it's defining them. Changing your daily habits isn't about making drastic, overwhelming shifts. It's about small, intentional actions repeated consistently over time. Success doesn't come from motivation alone. It comes from designing an environment that supports your goals, reducing friction for good habits, and increasing it for bad ones. It comes from focusing on progress, not perfection, and trusting the process, even when results aren't immediate. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity reinforces your habits. The key is not just to change what you do, but to change how you see yourself. When you believe you are someone who follows through, someone who is disciplined, and someone who takes control of their future, your actions will naturally align with that belief. The most successful people in the world aren't those with the most willpower. They're the ones who have structured their lives in a way that makes good habits inevitable. If you want to change your life, start by changing the small things you do every day. Because in the end, your future isn't shaped by a single big moment. It's built in the quiet, consistent decisions you make every single day.